How do Chicago institutions and seats of power work for or at times against the city's residents? That question is one of several at the heart of a new WBEZ series in collaboration with the University of Chicago. The series is called Reimagine Chicago and is hosted by our next guest, who joined WBEZ in December as host of the station's flagship midday show, Reset. And Sasha-Ann Simons joins us now. Welcome, Sasha. I'm excited that you're here, and I know that you recently graduated with a master's degree, so congrats on that as well.
Now, thank you so much.
You bet. Now, I know you've been doing the job as the host of Reset for several months now. Obviously, you knew a lot about Chicago before you arrived here, but what have you learned, or what's been surprising in the few months that you've been on the job?
Oh my gosh, what haven't I learned, Brandis? Chicago is an amazing city that's full of so much excitement, whether good or bad. But I've learned so much about how things work here in this city. I've always looked at Chicago from the outside in, and so I've only heard sort of the top headlines. I've only heard about, the bad rep, the violence. Heard things about Mayor Lightfoot, but didn't quite always understand how things were put together and how exactly that played out. From inside. And so I've learned so much about who's in power here, who's not, and just the different institutions and just different levels of government, how things are working, community residents, different neighborhoods, different foods, just everything. I've definitely taken the time to sort of expand my knowledge about the city, because it's a great one. It reminds me a lot of home. I'm from Toronto. And one of the first things I thought of when coming here was just how much this was going to feel like the environment I had grown up in, and it has not disappointed just yet.
There's something new to learn about Chicago every day. I'm still doing it too. Now, you're a reporter and host for WAMU, that's Washington, D.C.'s NPR station. You covered race, identity, and affordability there. How did that knowledge and experience translate into how you'll cover the city of Chicago now?
So that knowledge just helped me realize that a lot of the things that were playing out in Washington, a lot of the things that were playing out in neighborhoods there, and when I say Washington, I mean everything outside the White House, because a lot of people think of, the White House and think of the president and all of that as if that's all that Washington has to offer. But I'm talking about community residents of DC, the District of Columbia. And so things that played out, food insecurity, poverty, maternal mortality, things that were at rampant rates happening there are also playing out here in Chicago. I just really got to expand and open up my lens and just realize in how many ways we're just the same, or the problems, the issues are just the same. And so coming to Chicago was nice to be able to sort of expand that, take that reporting that I learned and that experience in Washington and bring that here. I've brought that lens to Reset as well. Reset was already a show that was focused on these issues, but so far, and I plan to continue magnifying that with the coverage that we focus on. We do we have a lot of conversations that focus on the residents, we focus on the people, we focus on solutions. We're bringing in a lot of voices that you don't normally hear on NPR. That's something that we want to make sure that we continue to do.
And to that end, you all just rolled out a new series in collaboration with the University of Chicago called Reimagine Chicago. How is this series going to sort of dig into the city's operations and institutions?
So it's doing exactly that. It's looking at the institutions and the systems here in Chicago, which have been running for a very long time, and they've been running in a very specific way. And we're asking, how could these systems work better? So we're first of all looking at how they work. We're looking at the root, and we're saying, how could they actually work better? We're doing so by looking at our city. We're looking at cities across the country. We're also looking outside of the country, and we're looking at other cities as well. We launched the series last week. I'm so proud to say that we had a wonderful kickoff. We focused last week all on city government, and we talked about how aldermen work, what their role is, what's the role of the mayor, how much power does the mayor have, what is this strong mayor system that Chicago is functioning on. And throughout the series, what's going to be great, Brandis, is we take the information and the ideas that come up. We talk to residents. Chicago residents are so much a part of the conversation, and we take the ideas to public officials as well. So last week, We talked to a longtime alderman. We also talked to the inspector general, and we shared the ideas to get their reactions as well. And the series is going to run throughout the next few months, throughout the summer. We'll go from city government to financial investments. We'll take on public safety, and we'll take on schools in the same manner.
So some of the guests that you've spoken to so far have discussed, as you said, the Chicago mayor's office and the alderman approach to community investment. What are some of the big takeaways from, that was all, I think, what you focused on last week. What are some of your big takeaways?
So some of our big so one of the things I want to mention is when I say that we talked to other cities, we looked at Phoenix, for instance, Phoenix, Arizona. They operate on a weak mayor system, a council manager system, as opposed to our strong mayor system. So their city councilors, or aldermen as we call them here in Chicago, they've got more power than our aldermen here, and they're able to sort of affect change a lot more than ours here. We also looked in my hometown. We talked to folks in Toronto about how city council works there, and some of the big takeaways are that you know, the mayor can be, I don't want to say stripped of certain powers, but there are some ways to reallocate just how things work at City Hall. And there are some ways to get residents more involved and get voices from the community impacting more of the solutions that basically affect us all. And so there are ways to get more resident input and ways to get aldermen to be able to do more outside of their jurisdictions.
And so there's obviously more to come from Reset with you as you all continue this series. I'm looking forward to hearing it, and I'm glad you were able to join us tonight. Thanks so much to WBEZ's Sasha-Ann Simons.
Thanks, Brandis.